The cold floor beneath Hyunwoo's body felt strange against his skin. Everything around him looked like crystal, but it wasn't quite right. The walls moved and shifted like they were alive. Blue light came from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. He tried to move his arms, but thick bands of energy held him down. His head hurt. The last thing he remembered was the explosion on Kepler 442b. The colony was burning. Children were screaming. The Valdris ships had come from the dark between stars like angry metal birds. He had done what any soldier would do. He had fought back. The door to his cell opened without a sound. 3 tall figures walked in. They looked like people, but wrong. Their skin was blue and clear like water. Hyunwoo could see things moving inside them. Not blood, but something else that glowed. They had 4 arms each, long and thin like tree branches. Their eyes were silver and too big for their faces. "The human is awake," one of them said. The voice came from everywhere at once. It was in his head, not his ears. "Bring him to the Tribunal." The energy bands around Hyunwoo disappeared. He tried to stand, but his legs felt weak. 2 of the aliens, no, Valdris, that's what they called themselves, grabbed his arms with their strange hands. They were cold like ice, but they didn't hurt him. They walked through long halls made of the same crystal-like material. Windows showed the black of space outside. A moon hung nearby, gray and dead. Ships moved around it like fish in dark water. Some looked like the Valdris vessels he had fought. Others were different shapes he had never seen before. The tribunal chamber was huge. The ceiling went up so high that Hyunwoo couldn't see the top. Hundreds of Valdris sat in rows that curved around a central platform. They all looked at him with those silver eyes. He felt like a bug under a bright light. In the center of the platform stood 5 Valdris who looked different from the others. They were taller and their skin glowed brighter. The one in the middle had markings on her face that moved like living tattoos. "Human soldier Hyunwoo Kim," the marked one said. "I am Tribunal Prime Villanis. You stand accused of destroying 3 bioships of the Valdris fleet. You are accused of killing 12,000 of our people. You are accused of using weapons that caused unnecessary suffering." Hyunwoo looked around the room, all those silver eyes staring at him. He thought about the colony. About the families who had lived there. About the children who had played in the gardens that morning before the attack came. "I did it," he said. His voice sounded small in the big room. A wave of sound came from the watching Valdris. It wasn't quite words, but Hyunwoo could feel their surprise. Maybe they expected him to lie or make excuses. "You admit to these acts?" Villanis asked. "Yes, your ships attacked our colony. They killed innocent people, families, children who never hurt anyone. I stopped them the only way I could." Another Valdris stepped forward. This one was different. Where the others looked like they were made of water and light, this one seemed more solid, more real. "I am Lyraketh, gene reader for this tribunal," she said. "We have studied your body while you slept. The results are troubling." She raised one of her 4 hands. A picture appeared in the air above the platform. It showed Hyunwoo's body, but not the outside. The inside. His bones, his blood, his brain. Everything glowed with different colors. "Your species is not what we expected," Lyraketh continued. "When we first found humans, we thought you were simple, primitive. Your technology is basic compared to ours. Your ships are slow. Your weapons are crude." The picture changed. Now it showed numbers and charts that moved too fast for Hyunwoo to understand. "But your bodies tell a different story. Your muscle density is 3 times what it should be for your size. Your bone strength exceeds our calculations. Your brain does things that should not be possible." More pictures appeared. Hyunwoo saw images of the battle at the colony. He watched himself do things he barely remembered. Moving faster than he should have been able to move. Thinking faster than he should have been able to think. Fighting 3 Valdris warriors at once and winning. "This human destroyed our bioships with weapons that should not have worked," Lyraketh said. "He modified them while fighting. He adapted in real time. He learned our tactics and created counters in minutes, not hours." Villanis looked down at Hyunwoo. "How did you do this?" Hyunwoo shrugged. "I don't know. I just did what I had to do. When people are in danger, you find a way. That's what humans do." "That's what humans do," Lyraketh repeated. "Yes, that is exactly what troubles us." She made the pictures change again. Now Hyunwoo saw other humans. Soldiers from different battles. Scientists working in labs. Farmers on colony worlds. Children playing games. "Every human we have studied shows the same patterns," Lyraketh said. Under pressure, your species doesn't just survive. You excel. You become more than you were before. This should not be possible according to our understanding of evolution. Your species has been at war for less than 200 years, another tribunal member said. Yet you fight us as equals. We have had technology for 10,000 years. You are either the most dangerous species in the galaxy, Valanis said, or the most valuable. The tribunal chamber became quiet. Hyunwoo could hear his own heartbeat. He thought about home, about Earth with its blue skies and white clouds, about his family. He wondered if he would ever see them again. We could execute you, Valanis said. Your crimes demand death under our law. But you and your species represent something we have never encountered before, something we must understand. She stood up from her chair. All the other Valdris in the chamber stood too. Human Hyunwoo Kim, this tribunal finds you guilty of the destruction of Valdris property and the killing of Valdris citizens. However, we do not sentence you to death. Instead, you will participate in the Genesis Protocol. What's that? Hyunwoo asked. You will help us create something new, Valanis said. Something that has never existed before. You will help us understand what makes humans special. And in return, you will help ensure that both our species survive what is coming. What's coming? But the tribunal members were already walking away. The guards grabbed Hyunwoo's arms again. As they led him from the chamber, he heard Valanis speak one last time. Take him to New Eden, begin the protocol immediately, and pray to whatever gods watch over us that we are making the right choice. The chamber doors closed behind them, with a sound like breaking glass. Hyunwoo didn't know what the Genesis Protocol was. He didn't know what was coming that had the Valdris so scared. But he knew one thing for certain. His war was far from over. The ship that carried Hyunwoo away from the tribunal was different from the crystal chambers he had seen before. This one felt alive in a way that made his skin crawl. The walls pulsed like a heartbeat. Tubes filled with glowing liquid ran along the ceiling. When he touched the floor, it was warm and soft like skin. 2 Valdris guards sat across from him. They didn't speak during the long journey. Sometimes they looked at him with those silver eyes, but mostly they ignored him. Hyunwoo tried to count the hours, but there were no windows to show day or night. Just the endless pulse of the living ship. When they finally stopped, the guards led him through an airlock into something that took his breath away. The space was enormous, bigger than any building he had ever seen. The ceiling curved up like the inside of a giant egg. Forests grew on platforms that floated in the air. Waterfalls fell from nowhere and disappeared into mist before they hit the ground. Welcome to New Eden, a voice said behind him. Hyunwoo turned to see a Valdris who looked different from the others. Where most Valdris seemed made of water and light, this one appeared solid. Real. Her blue skin was darker, more like the ocean than the sky. She had the same 4 arms, but they looked stronger. More human-like. I am Dr. Nixara, she said. I will be working with you during your time here. What is this place? Hyunwoo asked. This is where we create life, Nixara said. She started walking and Hyunwoo followed. The Genesis Protocol has been running for 3 years now. We have learned much, but we still need to learn more. They walked past gardens where strange plants grew in perfect rows. Some of the plants moved when they approached, turning toward them like they were curious. Other plants glowed with soft colors that changed as they watched. Your people think we are kidding ourselves, Nixara said. They think the Genesis Protocol is just an excuse to study humans. But they are wrong. We are trying to save both our species. Save them from what? Nixara stopped walking. She looked at Hyunwoo with eyes that seemed older than her face. Our species is dying. We have not had a successful birth in over 50 years. Our population drops every year. In 1,000 years, there will be no more Valdris. They came to a building that looked like it was grown rather than built. The walls were smooth and curved. Windows glowed with warm light. Inside, Hyunwoo saw rooms filled with strange machines and tanks full of liquid. We have tried everything, Nixara said. We have mixed our genes with dozens of other species. We have created artificial wombs. We have built machines to help our bodies make children. Nothing works. She led him to a window that looked into a large room. Inside the room were dozens of tall tanks filled with blue liquid. Things floated in the tanks, but Hyunwoo couldn't see them clearly. Then we found humans, Nixara said. Your species does something ours cannot. You adapt. You change. You become more than you were before. We think this ability might be the key to saving us both. Both? Your species is also in danger. You just don't know it yet. Nixara touched something on the wall. The liquid in the tanks became clear. Now Hyunwoo could see what was floating inside. They looked like people, but not quite. Some had human features mixed with Valdris traits. Others looked more alien. All of them seemed to be sleeping. "These are our first attempts," Nixara said. "Combinations of Valdris and other species. None of them survived more than a few days after birth. You're making people in tanks? We are trying to create life that can survive. Life that carries the best parts of different species. But until now we have failed." They moved to another section of the building. Here the tanks were different, smaller. The liquid inside was green instead of blue, and floating in 3 of the tanks were figures that made Hyunwoo's heart stop. They looked human, female, young, but their skin had a slight blue tint, and their hair moved in the liquid like it was alive. Their eyes were closed, but he could see they would be larger than normal when they opened. "These are the first human Valdris combinations," Nixara said. "They have been growing for 6 months. All signs show they will survive. You're making human women in tanks? We are creating beings that carry both human and Valdris traits. They will have your adaptability and our intelligence, your strength and our technology. They represent hope for both our species." Hyunwoo felt sick. "This is wrong." "Wrong?" Nixara tilted her head. "What is wrong about creating life? What is wrong about ensuring survival? They're not real people. They're experiments. They have brains. They have hearts. They think and feel. How are they not real?" Hyunwoo looked at the tanks again. The figures inside did look peaceful, like they were just sleeping, waiting to wake up. But the idea of people being grown like crops made his stomach turn. "Why do you need me?" he asked. "Because they will need to mate with someone compatible, someone who understands both sides of their nature. The Tribunal chose you because your genetic patterns are the strongest we have recorded. You want me to—" Hyunwoo couldn't finish the sentence. "The choice will be theirs as much as yours," Nixara said. "We do not force mating. We create the possibility and see what happens." She led him away from the tanks to a smaller room with comfortable chairs and a window that looked out over the floating forests. On a table were pictures and files written in symbols he couldn't read. "This is Dr. Jae-hyun Park," Nixara said, showing him a picture of a human man in a white coat. He helped design the Genesis Protocol. Hyunwoo recognized the name. He was reported dead 3 years ago. He was captured, like you. But he chose to work with us instead of fighting us. He understood what we are trying to do. Where is he now? Working in the deep labs? You will meet him soon. He has been waiting for another human to join the project. Nixara put the pictures away. You have a choice, Hyunwoo. You can fight this and spend your life in a cell, or you can help us create something amazing, something that might save millions of lives. What if I refuse? Then you refuse. But the project continues with or without you. The difference is whether you have a voice in what happens. Through the window, Hyunwoo watched strange birds fly between the floating platforms. They had too many wings and colors that shifted as they moved. Everything here was beautiful and wrong at the same time. The first hybrid will emerge from her tank in 2 days, Nixara said. Her name is Aryalyn. She will be curious about everything. She will want to understand who she is and where she came from. You could help her with that. What if she doesn't want anything to do with me? Then she doesn't, but what if she does? Nixara stood up to leave. At the door, she turned back. This facility has been attacked twice by those who think the Genesis Protocol is wrong. Many people, both human and Valdris, want it to fail. But I believe it represents the future. The question is whether you want to be part of building that future or just watching it happen. After she left, Hyunwoo sat alone looking out at the impossible gardens. Tomorrow he would meet someone who had never been born in the normal way. Someone who was part human and part alien. Someone who might need his help to understand what it meant to be alive. He thought about the colony again. About the children who had died. About the war that seemed to go on forever. Maybe Nixara was right. Maybe this was a chance to build something better than endless fighting. Or maybe it was just another kind of war. Hyunwoo woke to the sound of alarms. Red lights flashed through his small room, and voices spoke in the Valdris language over speakers he couldn't see. He had been at New Eden for 2 weeks now, but this was the first time he had heard those sounds. He rushed to his window and looked out at the floating gardens. Valdris were running between the platforms. Some carried weapons that glowed blue. Others moved equipment he didn't recognize. In the distance, he could see explosions of light against the facility's outer walls. His door opened without warning. Arielyn stood there, her silver eyes wide with worry. She had emerged from her tank 12 days ago, and since then she had spent most of her time asking questions about everything she saw. She was curious like a child, but she learned faster than anyone Yunwoo had ever met. "We need to move," she said. "The facility is under attack." Arielyn looked human except for her eyes and the slight blue tint to her skin. She was tall and graceful, moving in a way that seemed to flow like water. Her hair was black like his, but when light hit it, blue streaks appeared and disappeared. "Who's attacking?" Hyunwoo asked as they ran down the hallway. "Valdris, who think the Genesis protocol is wrong. They want to destroy everything here, including us." They reached the main laboratory where Dr. Nixara was working frantically at a control panel. 2 more tanks had opened in the past week. So-jin had emerged 6 days ago, and Mi-young had awakened 3 days ago. Both stood near Nixara, ready to help. So-jin was different from Arielyn. Where Arielyn was curious and gentle, So-jin was sharp and focused. Her mind worked like a computer, seeing patterns and solutions that others missed. She'd spent her first day out of the tank reading every military manual in the facility's database. Mi-young was the most emotional of the 3. She felt things deeply and could sense the feelings of others. Sometimes she would start crying or laughing for no reason that anyone could see, until they realized she was feeling what someone else felt in another part of the facility. "The outer shields are failing," Nixara said without looking up from her controls. "They brought heavy weapons. More than we expected." "How many attackers?" So-jin asked. "At least 50 ships, maybe more." Hyunwoo looked at the weapons rack near the door. "Give me a gun. I can help fight them." "No," Nixara said. "If they capture you, they'll kill you immediately. You're too valuable to risk." "Then what do we do?" So-jin stepped forward. "We run. But first we need to get the others." She meant the hybrids still in tanks. 3 more were close to being ready, but they weren't awake yet. Moving them would be dangerous, but leaving them would mean certain death. "I can carry 2 of the tanks," Mi-young said. "I'm stronger than I look." "The tanks are too heavy," Nixara said. "Even for you." "Not if we drain most of the fluid," So-jin said. She was already moving toward the tanks, her mind working through the problem. "We keep just enough to keep them alive during transport." Explosions sounded closer now. Through the windows, Hyunwoo could see ships attacking the floating platforms. Some of the beautiful gardens were already burning. "There's an escape ship in the lower bay," Nixara said. "But we need to get there without being seen." Arielyn moved to a wall panel and pressed her hand against it. Lights appeared under her fingers, and suddenly she was connected to the facility's computer system. Her eyes glowed silver as information flowed through her mind. "I can see the attack patterns," she said. "They're focused on the main levels. The lower passages are still clear." "How can you do that?" Hyunwoo asked. "I don't know. I just can." She pulled her hand away from the panel. "We have maybe 10 minutes before they break through to this level." They worked quickly. So-jin calculated exactly how much fluid they could remove from each tank without killing the hybrids inside. Mi-young used her enhanced strength to prepare the portable life support systems. Arielyn monitored the attackers' movements through the facility's cameras. Hyunwoo helped Nixara gather the most important research data. As they worked, she explained more about the attackers. "They call themselves the pure Valdris," she said. "They believe mixing with other species is wrong. They think it will destroy what makes us unique." "What about the Valdris government? Won't they help?" "The government is divided. Half want the Genesis protocol to succeed. Half agree with the pure Valdris. That's why we built this facility in secret." So-jin finished her work with the tanks. The 3 sleeping hybrids now floated in much less fluid, but the monitoring systems showed they were still stable. "Ready," she said. They moved through the facility using maintenance tunnels that Arielyn found by accessing the computer system. The tunnels were narrow and dark, lit only by emergency lights that cast strange shadows on the walls. As they traveled, Hyunwoo found himself amazed by what the 3 hybrids could do. So-jin seemed to understand the facility's layout better than Nixara, even though she had only been awake for 6 days. Mi-young could sense when danger was near, warning them to hide when pure Valdris soldiers passed overhead. Arielyn could interface with any computer system just by touching it. They weren't just combinations of human and Valdris traits. They were something new, something better than either species alone. "There," Nixara said as they reached the lower bay. "That ship can get us away from here." The escape ship looked like a smaller version of the vessels that had brought Hyunwoo to New Eden. It was alive like the others, with a skin that pulsed and walls that felt warm to the touch. As they loaded the portable tanks inside, explosions echoed through the facility above them. The attack was getting worse. Where will we go? Hyunwoo asked. There's another facility, Nixara said. Smaller but safer. Dr. Park is there with more research. They strapped themselves in as the ship prepared to launch. Through the small windows, Hyunwoo could see flames spreading through the floating gardens. All that beauty, all that careful work being destroyed by people who were afraid of change. I'm sorry, he said to the three hybrids. This is happening because of what we're trying to do. Arielin reached over and took his hand. Her skin was warm and he could feel the strength in her fingers. Don't be sorry, she said. This is happening because some people are afraid of the future. But we are the future, and we're not going to let fear stop us. So Jin was studying the ship's navigation system. The attackers have ships waiting in orbit. We'll need to be careful getting past them. Can you plot a course? Nixara asked, already done. But it will be dangerous. Mi-young closed her eyes and concentrated. I can feel their emotions from here. They're angry and afraid. That will make them sloppy. The ship launched, rising through the facility's launch bay and out into space. Behind them, New Eden burned like a dying star. Ahead of them was uncertainty and danger. But as Hyunwoo looked at the three beings sitting around him, part human, part alien but entirely themselves, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. They had saved not just themselves, but the future they represented. And somehow Hyunwoo knew this was just the beginning. The second facility was hidden inside a dead moon that orbited a gas giant far from any trade routes. From the outside, the moon looked like any other chunk of rock floating in space. But inside it was alive with activity. Dr. Jae-hyun Park met them at the landing bay. He looked older than Hyunwoo remembered, with gray streaks in his black hair and lines around his eyes. But he smiled when he saw the escape ship land safely. You made it, he said in Korean as Hyunwoo stepped out of the ship. I was worried when we lost contact with New Eden. The pure Valdris destroyed everything, Hyunwoo replied in the same language. It felt good to speak Korean again after weeks of using the translation devices. Jae-hyun looked at the three hybrids with wonder. So these are the successful ones. Remarkable. Arielin, Sojin, and Mi-young stood close together studying this new human. They could understand Korean through their translation implants, but they had never met another human besides Hyunwoo. Dr. Park has been working on something important, Nixara said as they moved deeper into the facility. Something that changes everything we thought we knew. This facility was different from New Eden. Where New Eden had been beautiful and open, this place felt like a library. Walls were covered with screens showing data, pictures and writings in dozens of languages. The air hummed with the sound of computers working on complex problems. Jae-hyun led them to a large room filled with ancient artifacts. Stone tablets covered with strange writing sat next to metal objects that gleamed despite their obvious age. Crystals held frozen images of creatures that no longer existed. 3 months ago, we made a discovery, Jae-hyun said. We found ruins on a planet in the outer rim. Very old ruins, older than any Valdris civilization. He touched a control panel and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a double helix, the spiral shape of genetic code that all life used. This is human DNA, Jae-hyun said. The image changed. This is Valdris DNA. It changed again. And this is DNA from the ruins. All three looked almost identical. The basic structure was the same with only small differences in the details. We're related, Hyunwoo said. More than related. We're branches of the same tree. Millions of years ago, a species we're calling the Builders spread life across this part of the galaxy. They seeded planets with genetic patterns that would eventually evolve into different forms. So Jin stepped closer to study the hologram. Her mind worked through the implications faster than anyone else could speak them. The differences between humans and Valdris aren't random, she said. They're designed. Each species developed the traits the Builders thought would be most useful. Exactly, Jae-hyun said. Valdris developed intelligence and technology. Humans developed adaptability and biological strength. But the Builders intended for the species to eventually come back together. How do you know that? Arielin asked. Jae-hyun showed them another artifact. This one was a crystal tablet, covered with symbols that seemed to move when you looked at them directly. We found this in the same ruins. It took weeks to translate, but the message is clear. The builders knew their time was ending. They scattered their genetic legacy across the stars, hoping that someday their children would find each other and become something greater than either could be alone. Mi Young walked over to the tablet and placed her hand on it. Her eyes widened as she felt something from the ancient crystal. "There's more," she said softly. "Something about danger. Something coming from far away." "The Devourers," Nixara said. "The tablet mentions them. What are the Devourers?" Hyunwoo asked. Jaehyun's expression became grim. "Machine intelligences from another galaxy. They've been moving through space for millions of years, destroying organic life wherever they find it. The builders faced them before. That's why they scattered their genetic patterns. They knew the Devourers would eventually come here." The room became quiet as everyone absorbed this information. Hyunwoo thought about the war between humans and Valdris. All that fighting, all those deaths, and they were actually family. "The Devourers are already here," Nixara said. "Our long-range sensors detected the first scouts 6 months ago. The main fleet is maybe 3 years behind them. That's why the Genesis Protocol is so important," Jaehyun continued. "The hybrids aren't just a way to save our species. They're our best hope of fighting an enemy that has destroyed countless civilizations." Dongmin chose that moment to emerge from his growth tank. He was the first male hybrid, and unlike the females, he looked more Valdris than human. His skin was pale blue, and he had the elongated limbs of the Valdris, but his eyes held the intensity that marked him as part human. Dr. Nixara helped him from the tank and wrapped him in warming cloths. Within hours, he was walking and talking, his mind absorbing information at an incredible rate. "How many?" were his first words. "How many what?" Nixara asked. "How many ships in the Devourer fleet? How much time do we have? How many hybrids have been created?" Sojin smiled. It was the first time Hyunwoo had seen her look happy. "I think we're going to get along well," she told Dongmin. Over the following days, 2 more hybrids emerged. Heejin was different from all the others. Where the previous hybrids combined human and Valdris traits in obvious ways, Hyejin seemed to have abilities that neither parent species possessed. She could sense things that hadn't happened yet. Not clearly, but enough to know when danger was coming. She could also understand complex mathematics and physics in ways that amazed even the Valdris scientists. "The quantum field resonates differently around her," one of the researchers told Jaehyun. "It's like she can perceive dimensions we can't even detect." The last hybrid to emerge was Seung-ho, another male who combined the best physical traits of both species. He was stronger than any human, faster than any Valdris, and his reflexes were so quick they seemed supernatural. As the weeks passed, Hyunwoo watched the hybrids learn and grow. They weren't just people with mixed genetics. They were something entirely new. Each one had abilities that surpassed what either humans or Valdris could do alone. But more importantly, they worked together in ways that amazed everyone. Sojin and Dongmin could solve problems that had puzzled scientists for years. Aryalin could interface with technology in ways that opened new possibilities. Myoung and Heejin could sense threats and opportunities that others missed completely. "They're not just the future of our species," Jaehyun said one evening as they watched the hybrids work together on a complex project. "They might be the future of all organic life in this galaxy." "No pressure," Hyunwoo said with a weak smile. "Actually," Jaehyun said, his expression serious, "that's exactly what this is. All the pressure in the universe." Through the facility's windows, Hyunwoo could see stars scattered across the black of space. Somewhere out there, an army of machines was coming to destroy everything he cared about. But here, in this hidden place, they were building something that might be able to stop them. The hybrids weren't just children of 2 species. They were the children of the Builder's ancient dream. And soon they would have to prove whether that dream was strong enough to survive the nightmare that was coming. The first Devourer scout ship appeared on their sensors 3 months later. It was massive, dark, and shaped like a jagged piece of broken metal. It moved through space without any visible engines, and it didn't respond to any communication attempts. "It's scanning everything," Sojin reported from the facility's command center. "Every planet, every moon, every piece of space debris. It's learning about our technology and our defenses." Hyunwoo stood with the other hybrids watching the long-range displays. The scout ship was still far away, but its very presence made everyone nervous. Behind it, moving much slower but steadily closer, was the main Devourer fleet. Thousands of ships that had already destroyed dozens of civilizations. "We need to bring the human and Valdris fleets together," Dongmin said. Separately, neither species can win. Together, they might have a chance. The humans won't trust the Valdris, Hyejin said. She had been having visions about the future, and most of them were dark. Too much hatred from years of war. And the Valdris think humans are too primitive to be real allies, Arya Lin added. Dr. Jae Hyun looked up from his research station. That's why we need you, he said to the hybrids. You're living proof that both species can work together. The next few weeks were busy. Messages went out to both human and Valdris governments. Some leaders were interested in an alliance. Others wanted to keep fighting each other even as the Devourers approached. Fear and old hatred were hard things to overcome. Tribunal Prime Valanis arrived at the facility with a small fleet of Valdris ships. She looked older than when Hyunwoo had first seen her, and her silver eyes showed worry that she couldn't hide. The pure Valdris have gained support, she told them. Many of my people would rather die as pure Valdris than live as something mixed with human genes. And many humans would rather fight aliens than fight alongside them, added Admiral Chen Wei, who had come with a human fleet. She was a small woman with gray hair and scars on her hands from years of military service. Then we changed their minds, Mi Young said simply. The plan they came up with was risky. The hybrids would demonstrate their abilities to both fleets. They would show what human and Valdris working together could accomplish, and they would prove that the future depended on cooperation, not separation. The demonstration took place in the space between the two fleets. Both sides watched as the hybrids worked together to solve problems that neither humans nor Valdris could handle alone. Shung Ho showed physical abilities that impressed even the most experienced soldiers. He moved faster than human reflexes should allow, hit harder than Valdris strength should permit, and thought quicker than either species could match. Sojin and Dongmin worked together to decode Devourer technology that had been recovered from old battlefields. Within hours, they understood systems that had puzzled scientists for years. Arya Lin demonstrated her ability to interface with both human and Valdris technology simultaneously, creating connections and possibilities that no one had imagined before. But it was Hyejin who convinced them. She used her quantum perception to predict exactly where the Devourer scout ship would move next. When it appeared exactly where she said it would, both fleets realized they were dealing with abilities beyond anything they had seen. These beings represent our future, Villanis announced to the combined fleets. Not human, not Valdris, but something new that carries the best of both. Admiral Chen nodded agreement. The war between our species ends today. We face a greater enemy now. The alliance wasn't perfect. Humans and Valdris still distrusted each other. Old wounds didn't heal overnight, but necessity forced them to work together, and the hybrids served as bridges between the two sides. They had 6 months to prepare before the main Devourer fleet arrived. Those months were filled with the most intensive cooperation in galactic history. Human adaptability combined with Valdris technology created weapons and defenses that neither side could have built alone. The hybrids were at the center of everything. They could understand human intuition and Valdris logic equally well. They could see solutions that pure humans or pure Valdris missed. Most importantly, they could work with both species without the baggage of old hatred. When the Devourer fleet finally arrived, it was larger than anyone had expected. Thousands of dark ships emerged from space itself, moving in perfect formation toward the inner planets. Each ship was the size of a city, armed with weapons that could destroy worlds. The battle lasted 3 days. Human ships used hit-and-run tactics that confused the Devourer's rigid programming. Valdris vessels provided long-range support with weapons that bent space itself, and the hybrids coordinated everything, seeing patterns and opportunities that saved thousands of lives. Hyejin's quantum perception allowed her to predict Devourer movements before they happened. Sojin and Dongmin developed new battle strategies in real time. Arya Lin hacked into Devourer systems and turned their own weapons against them. But it was Shung Ho who delivered the final blow. He piloted a modified ship directly into the Devourer command vessel, using abilities no pure human or Valdris could have survived. The explosion that followed destroyed the enemy fleet's coordination and sent the remaining ships fleeing back to deep space. The victory was costly. Many ships were lost and thousands of people died. But for the first time in galactic history, organic life had defeated the Devourers. The alliance between humans and Valdris had saved both species. In the months that followed, the real work began. Joint colonies were established where humans, Valdris, and hybrids lived and worked together. New technologies emerged from the combination of human creativity and Valdris science. Children were born who carried the best traits of both species. Hyunwoo found himself in a position he had never expected. He was no longer a soldier fighting a war. He was a leader helping to build a new kind of civilization. His relationship with Arya Lin had grown into something deeper than either had expected. They were partners in every sense, working together to guide the other hybrids and help the two species learn to trust each other. "Do you ever regret it?" Arya Lin asked him one evening as they walked through one of the new joint colonies. Around them, human and Valdris children played together while their parents worked side by side. "Regret what?" "Being captured. Being forced into the Genesis Protocol. Having your whole life changed." Hyunwoo thought about the question. He remembered the Tribunal, the fear, the anger at being taken from his old life, but he also thought about what had been built since then. The Alliance, the colonies, the children who would grow up without the hatred that had divided their grandparents. "No," he said finally, "I don't regret it. Sometimes the best things come from the worst situations." Above them, the stars shone down on a galaxy that was finally at peace. In the distance, construction ships worked on new projects that would benefit all three populations. And in the schools and homes around them, a new generation was growing up that would never know the fear and hatred that had once seemed impossible to overcome. The Devourers would return someday, but when they did, they would face not just humans or Valdris, but something new, something stronger, something that proved the Builder's ancient dream was worth waiting millions of years to achieve. The future belonged to all of them together.